It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. It is your feel-good breakfast show, Expresso on S3. And today's theme is all about the ego. The ego is described as a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance. And it has a role in spoiling many relationships, but it doesn't just come to play with people who are dating. It can ruin friendships and create a wedge between family members too. Now, here to help us recognize this is is registered wellness counselor from Living in Purpose Counseling, Karen van Skalkwijk, and she is joined by power couple, South Africans living in Dubai, Jody and Brent Butler. It's so great to have you all here.
Thank you. So nice to be here.
Oh, listen, this is something I feel like we need to kick off. Karen, perhaps we can start off with you when it comes to the ego in a relationship. How often does that tend to take over the love and respect that people have usually in relationships?
So more often than not, and sometimes it's not easy to recognize it in a relationship either, but there are small things that you would start to be able to pick up. So you'll notice that your partner may have a desire to be right all the time. They have an inability to admit when they are wrong, and they also shy away from apologizing. So that's something that you will notice that they can't do, and it brings up a lot of arrogance in the relationship, and everything is revolved around them. There's no consideration for the partner's position in your relationship, and then also you'll start to see that their communication starts to decline. Your partner will withdraw from you, rather spend time with other people than spend time alone with you, just to avoid having to walk on eggshells or to tiptoe around you.
Okay, well, Jody, Brent, hearing that, how would you say you avoid doing that within your marriage?
Well, first of all, I feel attacked.
Are you that person?
I'm just kidding. I think avoiding that is it's all about communication. I mean, we were talking about this not too long ago, just about communicating, and sometimes we communicate in different ways. You know, sometimes I need to be spoken to in a softer voice. Sometimes you need to be a little bit more assertive. Some people respond differently to different ways of communicating, and I think it's about learning how your partner communicates and receives that communication the best way.
Definitely.
What do you think?
Well, I think that when we speak about this, one of the biggest things is trying to dissolve your ego, right? So the moment where we have that ego-driven conversation, I want to be right, we've kind of gotten it down to this little effervescent tablet that you put in and take the time as long as it takes for that to just get ready. Just breathe, and when it's ready, you speak. Otherwise, everything is very ego-driven.
And it's very easy for that to be the case in any situation, whether it's in your marriage, at work, or even with family members.
Yeah.
Now, the two of you, it's been 7-8 months since you've made the move to Dubai. Do you think if your ego had to be in play, that move wouldn't have been possible?
I mean, do you want to?
No, go ahead.
I think definitely. I think there's definitely things that you need to put aside, especially when it comes to a whole new journey in terms of your career. You know, sometimes are you doing a lateral move? Are you taking a step up? Are you taking a step behind? And the thing is, we just need to be there to support each other, you know, be happy for each other. And we know what the common goal is. We have our individual goals, but we also have a goal as a couple. And we always want to see the other person win, which is great. So sometimes if you are not in the best spot, he's maybe in a better spot, and vice versa. So there's always someone to push you, which is great.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
For sure. Beyond the goals, boundaries. Boundaries are super important, especially in making.
Do you find that your boundaries often get tested? I mean, you're outnumbered in the household.
I mean,
all the time, 2 to 1. But maybe Jody's outnumbered more than me. Boston seems to be my best friend right now. So
Really?
he's super into daddy now, now. So
You're getting
I'm like the third wheel. I'm like the person at the restaurant taking pictures of them on a date. That's what I am, and I'm just like eating the leftovers. But we love it.
Oh, we do love it. and speaking of love, Karen, maybe you can shed some light on this, on the different concepts when you get ego love and you get authentic love. How do we distinguish the difference between the two?
So ego love is centered around conditions and expectations. So it says, I love you to the extent that you love me in return. And there are strings attached to it. So you need to change who you are for me to continue loving you. I think to sum it up, you know, it's a very selfish kind of love. there is no middle ground. You don't want to hear what the other person is saying. You have no desire to take into consideration what they are thinking, what they are feeling. It's all just based around meeting your demands right now.
Okay.
And authentic love is completely selfless. So, you know, it's a type of love where you're accepting the person for exactly who they are. There's no desire to want to change or fix. You're able to have difficult conversations, but that doesn't change how you see your partner, how you feel about your partner. I think it's more about, you know, valuing them and seeing their happiness be your top priority, even if that happiness does not include you at the end of the day.
And that takes courage. Well, there we go. We are not going to let our panel go anywhere. Karen, Brent, and Jody, they're going to stay with us as we continue to unpack ego within the relationship.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
We are back and you're just in time. Thank you for tuning in. We have our panel and we are continuing our conversation around egos in relationships. Now, here to help us recognize this in our relationship is registered wellness counselor from Living in Purpose Counseling, Karen van Skalkwijk, and she is joined by power couple Jody and Brent Butler. Now, Karen, I'm going to redirect this question to you again. You know, you're in a relationship, but you're still an individual. How do you make sure that you keep your ego in check, but also not lose yourself collectively?
That's actually a very important point to make. And I think when you're in a relationship, sometimes you are so blinded by how you feel about somebody, your love for them takes over, and you do see yourself starting to lose who you are. And it's important to check in with yourself and, you know, make sure that you are keeping on track with your goals, your individual goals, as well as your relationship goals, you know. And it's important to be separate from your partner, but it's also important to be working together as one unit. And there are many different ways that you can express yourself. And I think it just makes it easier if you have a partner who is open to hearing what you have to say, who is supportive, who will be with you with whatever decision that you are wanting to make. I think that also just makes that process of keeping your individualism for yourself as well in the relationship.
And it's so important to keep it within the relationship. Yeah. I'm about to enter into a union, but the two of you have been married for some time now. When it comes to, I love earlier how you said you've got your individual goals and collectively as a family you have your own goals. How do you manage to maintain your individuality within your relationship?
I think a shared calendar has become our new lunchbox, right?
Yeah.
So we leave little notes for each other in a shared calendar, like we would in a lunchbox, which also gives us an opportunity to speak about how we are feeling on that day. So here's how I feel, see what we need to do, where do we fit in, and I think that togetherness has helped keep our individuality in the same time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's definitely things that we don't always like to do the same thing.
No.
But sometimes if I'm doing my own thing, he's doing his own thing, sometimes we can find a way to do it in the same room. You know, we don't have to be doing or engaging in the same thing, but we are still together. He says, I just want you next to me. Like, you know, while you're doing your thing, I'm doing mine. At least we are still close by.
Yeah,
you know?
So you're still within reach.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll cuddle you from a distance. Like,
In case I need a snack. I
Yes.
can see it. You know what I mean? It's just the important things.
the important things. I love that. Now, I've got the same question for each of you. So, Karen, I'm going to start off with you. How do we move forward? How do we leave our ego at the door but maintain our individuality within relationships, whether this is romantic, work, or family?
I think an important thing to remember is somebody needs to be willing to want to improve a relationship. Somebody needs to be willing to let go of that ego in order to move forward. So for me, the first and foremost is to have a willingness to improve yourself as well as to improve the relationship. I think it's also important to be able to recognize that sometimes you have these invasive thoughts going through your mind, and you need to recognize that that is coming from a place of your own insecurities and move away from that self-criticism to a more compassionate point of view towards you and towards your partner. So silencing that inner and that outer critique from both sides, you know, and also just maintaining an open and honest relationship, maintaining that panel of communication between your partner. If you're able to feel safe with your partner, you're able to continue speaking about the things that are concerning, the things that are challenging, and you're able to ask for support and help when you need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's also, I mean, going on that trajectory, you need to know yourself and be able to recognize, hang
Yeah.
on, I'm spiraling, I need external help. And you also need to vocalize that because your partner's not always going to know you need help in that moment.
Absolutely.
100%.
For the two of you, how do you find that, you know, not allowing insecurities and ego to get in the way, but also to stay true to who you are and who you want to be in your relationship?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard sometimes, especially if you, like you said, you know who you are, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. But it's all about communicating those things. And also, I think it's comforting when you know that your ultimate goal is to have a good marriage, have a good relationship. I don't want to fight with you. I don't want to be angry with you. So the outcome and the goal is always to resolve things. So you know that we are working towards something and no one's trying to, be upset for a long time or hold a grudge for days. And we don't do that. We always go to bed, kiss you good night, and you work it out. Sometimes it takes longer than others. Sometimes you need to cool off a little bit, but we get it done. You know what I mean? Because, like I said, the ultimate goal is to resolve it.
I think just embracing the fact that everybody has an ego, right?
Yeah.
You can start there,
Yeah.
that it's not this angry or
it.
aggressive thing. You know, it can be your fears, it can be, your happiness. Your ego is there all the time. As soon as you embrace and understand that you have one, just take stock, breathe deep, effervescent, let it bubble.
Effervescent.
Yeah.
And then go for it.
For a second there, when you did that breathe, you were like, why did she go first? I should have gone first. Well, I just want to thank each and every one of you for joining us today and being part of this conversation. And of course, for the two of you, shedding light on your relationship. And, safe travels back to Dubai.
you very
Do
much.
come pop in again when you're in South Africa
Absolutely.
again.
Thank
And safe travels.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
There we go. Karen, thank you for joining us,
Thank
bringing your expertise to our conversation. And hopefully you learned something new about keeping the ego in check, but also maintaining your individuality within a relationship.